The acoustic music community is a tightly bonded, really special group of individuals that you and I are a part of. In fact, this became abundantly clear a couple of weeks ago when the news of John Prine passing broke. The internet became flooded with covers of John Prine's songs. And it just was so heartwarming to see all the support and the love being shared, but also how staggering it was to see how big of an influence John Prine had on so many different artists from all sorts of different backgrounds. So in an effort to celebrate John Prine and his musical legacy and his life, I wanted to feature 6 covers of John Prine songs that I think are incredible. In fact, these are ones that kind of bubbled to the top as I was looking through a whole bunch of them. And not only do they do justice to John Prine and his musical legacy, but I think it will help you discover new artists as well, kind of very much in the folk music tradition. So without further ado, let's get started with one of my favorite John Prine songs of all time, Paradise. A fantastic waltz and one that just really shows John Prine's wizardry with words. And rather than featuring the John Prine version, I wanted to share with you the cover that Roger Waters did. Roger Waters of Pink Floyd shared a cover of this song on YouTube, and he simply said in the description this, quote, "My friend John Prine died. This is his song, Paradise. Miss you, brother." And with that being said, I'll let Roger Waters take it away.
And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay. Sorry, my son, but you're too late in this. Mr. Peabody's coal train is hauled it away.
Huge thanks to Roger Waters for sharing that song, sharing that cover with the entire world. For those of you who like that song and want to hear some other covers, I've got some other covers of that song that were featured on albums, ones that I particularly like and that I find really intriguing and just overall awesome. First and foremost, Tim O'Brien and Darell Scott featured it on their album Memories and Moments, and John Prine actually guested on that particular recording session, which was such a treat. Dwight Yoakam featured it on his album Dwight Used Records, kind of a very Dwight take on the song Paradise. And then Johnny Cash actually featured it on his album Adventures of Johnny Cash, and it's kind of a loping and dramatic interpretation of Paradise, so make sure to check out those albums as well. Let's move to the next song, one that upon my first time hearing it, it didn't really hit me that hard, but each subsequent time, it just kept adding to the layers of meaning and depth of the song. The song is entitled Hello in There, and the cover that I've selected, the one that really stood out to me that was posted in the last couple of weeks, is one by Joan Baez. In fact, in this particular video, she says that in her live performances, this is one of the songs that gets requested the most, which I thought was pretty cool to see that Joan Baez, friend of John Prine, is actually being asked to play John's songs. And here she is playing the song Hello in There.
No trees just grow stronger, and old rivers grow wilder every day. But old people, they just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say hello in there.
So great to hear her sing such a classic song, such a really great song. And for those of you wondering what other covers are out there, I've selected a couple. Again, these are from varying backgrounds, and the reason I kind of compiled these is because it just shows the range of influence that John Prine had. First and foremost, David Allan Coe covered it on his album titled after the song, Hello in There. Also, 10,000 Maniacs covered Hello in There. Yeah, Natalie Merchant, I believe. Natalie Merchant was the singer in 10,000 Maniacs. Anyways, they covered it, and it was on an EP, and it eventually kind of came to light again on a Rarities album entitled Campfire Songs. And then Jeffrey Foucault covered the song Hello in There on his John Prine tribute album, Shoot the Moon Right Between the Eyes. More on that album here in a little bit because it's one that I think everybody should own. But let's move on to the next song before I get into the true nitty-gritty details here. The next song I want to highlight is Sam Stone. Just a kind of a tragic song, but told in such an I want to say endearing way. But it's one of these examples where John Prine is able to take such a sad situation and almost paint this ironically beautiful picture. But the song is sad. It's straight up sad, and I think it's one of the most well-written songs in the world, if I can be so bold as to say that. And I did break my rules here. I want to feature John Paul White, formerly of the Civil Wars, singing this song. Now, this was recorded 2 years ago at the Americana Fest, maybe longer than that, 2016 at the Americana Fest. And John Paul White introduced this as the song that changed his life. And I think that's for very good reason when you hear this song. So here's John Paul White singing the John Prine song, Sam Stone.
There's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. Jesus Christ died for nothing, I suppose. Little pictures and big ears don't stop to count the years. Sweet songs never last too long on broken radios.
Just a touching song all in all. And there's a couple more versions I want to make you aware of. Swamp Dogg covered this on their album Cuffed, Collared, and Tagged. Really interesting interpretation of the song. Bob Gibson covered this song before John Prine even released it. Bob Gibson released this song on his self-titled album, which came out in 1970. It was on John Prine's first album, which I believe was released in 71 or 72. So kind of a cool little singer-songwriter interplay there. And then Johnny Cash actually recorded this on the Live from Austin City Limits performance, in fact, which came out later on an album, Live from Austin, Texas. And Johnny Cash actually had a hard time getting through the song, singing a certain lyric in the chorus. In fact, I found an interview where John Prine kind of explains the dynamic between him and Johnny Cash and ultimately how they resolved this lyric issue. Here's the piece of that interview.
He wanted to do Sam Stone when my first album came out. And Johnny was having trouble singing the part about Jesus Christ died for nothing, I suppose. And I said, well, it's the heart of the song for me. I said, it's everything, and the song kind of fell out of that one line. And I said, I know where I'm coming from when I say that. It just means there's no hope. That, like, if the veteran's going to come home and be treated like that, and nobody's going to help him with his drug habit, then, what's the use in living, I didn't want to change it myself, but I asked John if he wanted to say something about his father. And because it follows the line, there's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. So John just came up with, Daddy must have heard a lot back then, I suppose. And, I figured, that's Johnny Cash. All I know is he's singing my song.
Pretty huge tip of the hat when Johnny Cash covers not just one of your songs, but a lot of your songs. In fact, one of the things I've noticed in doing research for the show is that Johnny Cash really dug into John Prine's catalog quite often. In fact, I should also mention huge thanks to the folks that run the website JP Shrine, the John Prine Shrine, which gave me a lot of avenues to explore when it came to covers of songs and things like that. So mega thanks to the folks operating the John Prine Shrine, a great fan website. Let's move on to the next song, and this is one that really it really shows John Prine's wordsmithing and how he's able to say something with such deep sentiment but with such simple language, and that's one of the things that I really admire about John Prine's work. The song Souvenirs, which was actually co-written with Steve Goodman, I found a great cover that Trey Hensley did as a tribute to John Prine, and anytime I get a chance to hear Trey Hensley sing is a good day. So it's going to be a good day. Here's Trey Hensley covering John Prine's Souvenirs.
Memories that can't be bought, they can't be won at carnivals for free. Well, it took me years to get those souvenirs, and I don't know how they slip away from me.
Such a great song, and if you want to hear a couple other interpretations of that song, the Country Gentleman recorded it, and you can find it on the album The Complete Vanguard Recordings, and of course Steve Goodman recorded it as well, since he did co-write the song, and it appears on Steve Goodman's album Affordable Art. Now let's move on to probably one of the most covered John Prine songs, quite possibly the most covered John Prine songs. In fact, I would say that this particular song is more, the cover is more popular than the original, but I digress. I think they're both awesome. Yes, the song is Angel from Montgomery. In fact, when I wanted to feature this song, I immediately went to Bonnie Raitt, because Bonnie Raitt has probably the most famous cover of this song. But I wanted to dig a little bit deeper, and my friend from the Old Town School of Folk Music, whom I actually worked with this individual for quite some time, his name is Simon Flora. We featured him on the Acoustic Tuesday show before, a great singer-songwriter in his own right. Him and I became friends at the Old Town School, and then of course we went our separate ways as life happens, but we've reconnected in the last couple of years, and I saw that he posted a tribute to John Prine, and he decided to sing the song Angel from Montgomery. And on his post, his post was accompanied with this nice little story that I want to share with you verbatim, because I think it's just such a cool piece of music history and just a great kind of singer-songwriter folk type story. So Simon says this: "When I worked at the Old Town School of Folk Music years ago, I made a new friend in an older folkie named Ed Holstein, who was at the Old Town School the same time that John Prine was in the 1970s. Story goes that one day John approached Ed at an outdoor cafe and asked if he'd like to finish a song he'd just started. Ed was busy with pleasant weather, a beer, and the prospect of love, so he asked if the song was any good, and what John had so far when he replied was the lyric, 'I'm an old woman named after my mother.' Ed then said he didn't want any part of a silly tune like that." Simon went on to say in his story that, "I think John Prine did just fine on his own." And with that, let me introduce to you Simon Flory covering John Prine's Angel from Montgomery.
Make me an angel, lights from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to believe in this living. Oh, it's just a hard way to go.
Huge thanks to Simon for covering that song and sharing that story. And I just want to offer a couple other albums that song appears on from other artists. Of course, Bonnie Raitt, it appears on her Streetlights album. It appears on John Denver's Farewell Andromeda album. And then also Susan Tedeschi, one of her very early albums, if not her first, entitled Just Won't Burn. In fact, there's a live radio performance of her doing that song, and it's stunning. So a lot of good musical nuggets there, a lot of good musical avenues to explore. And then the final song I want to share with you all is a song entitled Unwed Fathers, a song that was actually new to me until just a couple of weeks ago. I was unaware of this song, and I say that because I don't know if it was the title that didn't jive with me, or I didn't recognize it by the title. I knew I had heard it before, but I just didn't make the connection with the title. Nonetheless, I hadn't heard it in quite a long time. But then I heard Sarah Jarosz covering the song, and I thought to myself, this is absolutely delightful. And Sarah Jarosz decided to cover this song, Unwed Fathers, on her octave mandolin, and just it captures everything, the emotion, the feelings of the song. It's a beautiful cover. So without further ado, here's Sarah Jarosz singing John Prine's Unwed Fathers.
From a teenage lover to an unwed mother, left undercover like some bad dream, while unwed
Beautiful cover for sure. And of course, all of these performances, I've just selected a snippet. If you want to see them in their entirety, please visit acousticlife.tv/AT140. And another couple of albums that Unwed Fathers appears on, some covers that I think are of note. Tim and Molly O'Brien featured it on their album Take Me Back. Johnny Cash again featured it on his album Rainbow. And then Jeffrey Foucault, of course, featured it on his John Prine tribute album Shoot the Moon Right Between the Eyes. And I have to say, I just want to call special attention to that Jeffrey Foucault album because it contains all John Prine songs done by Jeffrey, and he does them in such an elegant way where he has such respect for the song, and they're just beautiful arrangements, and it's just so cool to hear him sing the songs of John Prine. So again, that's the album Shoot the Moon Right Between the Eyes by Jeffrey Foucault, an album dedicated to John Prine's songs. Now, I have to say, this was an extremely difficult list to come up with because I spent a lot of time watching John Prine covers, and I had to take some out of my list, and I was like, oh, this is really difficult. But I know I've only seen a mere fraction of the covers that exist. So if you have a favorite John Prine cover that was released in the last couple of weeks as a tribute to John Prine, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love for this episode to serve as a really nice tribute to John Prine, but also kind of a compilation of the outpouring of support that many of the acoustic artists in our world have they perform these covers that we should acknowledge, and we should have this wonderful resource as a kind of a way for us all to not only discover new John Prine songs, but also discover new artists through John Prine songs that we know and love. So let me know your favorite cover in the comments below. I would love to feature a few of those on an upcoming episode of Acoustic Tuesday. All right, this week on Acoustic Tuesday, we've already begun to celebrate John Prine's legacy by hearing some stellar John Prine covers. You're also going to get a look at a wonderful guitar that is a fantastic travel companion, a guitar that's actually easy to travel with. And you're going to get a message made out directly to you from some seriously amazing luthiers. You have to stay tuned to see this message because I was floored when it came into my email, and I cannot wait to share it with you. That's all coming up right after this. I'm Tony Policastro, and this is the Acoustic Tuesday Show. Guitar Geeks, unite. Welcome to Acoustic Tuesday, episode number 140. This is the show where you're going to learn about acoustic guitar gear, discover acoustic artists, and get inspired to live your very best acoustic life. As with all episodes of Acoustic Tuesday, I'm going to share with you my Guitar Geek list for the week. But prior to digging into that, I figured we need to do some Guitar Geek trivia. And what better subject for our Guitar Geek trivia than John Prine? This episode is kind of a celebration of John Prine, and I thought the Guitar Geek trivia question should also celebrate the life and times of John Prine. So here is your question for the day. In which year was the independent record label Oh Boy Records founded? Was it 1977, 1979, 1981, or 1984? Go ahead and ponder that question, and at the end of the show, I'll be sure to give you the answer, plus a little bit of background on Oh Boy Records. Now, moving right along the Guitar Geek list for the day, I wanted to feature a travel guitar. Now, granted, I know that most of us are probably not traveling right now, but that's okay. When the time does come, when we are able to travel again, I want you to check out this guitar, the Journey First Class Overhead Parlor Guitar. Now, I've tried a couple of different Journey instruments in the past, but this one, I believe, takes the cake for ease of travel. And let me explain quick before I get to the review, because I did have a chance to do a full review of this guitar and I want to share that with you. But first, let me just explain. The Journey instrument that I used for traveling a couple of years ago was a little bit bigger. The body size was a little bit bigger. The neck still came off, and that was great, and it still had a roller bag with it. That was awesome. But it was just a little too big for it to be convenient. It fit in the overhead, but it kind of took a little bit of convincing. Now, granted, it was great to have a full-bodied guitar, but at the expense of a little bit of kind of rigmarole when it came to rolling it through the airport. Enter the Journey First Class Parlor Guitar, and they've remedied the issues because the body size is smaller, hence the bag is smaller. It's much more easy to travel with, much more easy to roll around, and ultimately, I'm pumped you're able to take an all solid wood guitar comfortably when you travel. So here's my experience with the Journey First Class overhead parlor guitar, model number FP412, with solid Sitka spruce on the top and solid African mahogany back and sides. Let's take a look. The First Class Overhead Parlor Guitar, or FP412 as their nomenclature indicates, is an extremely travel-friendly instrument. In fact, this guitar folds up, the neck comes off, and it stows away in a roller bag that, yes, fits in an overhead compartment. More on that in a second. Let's actually dig into the specs of this instrument. We've got a solid Sitka spruce top paired with forward-shifted X bracing, which really contributes to an extremely responsive top. I found with this guitar that I barely had to play it, and it was issuing sound pretty freely. In fact, the action is set really low, and I thought, I might not have the volume I want, but it certainly had volume in spades. Back and sides of this guitar are solid African mahogany, and there's something interesting about the body. Well, actually two things. First, it's got the arm bevel, which is extremely comfortable because it doesn't cut into your picking arm. And second, it has the Manzer wedge. Developed by Linda Manzer, an incredible luthier, it's actually thinner at the top and thicker at the bottom. So you have all the comfort of a thinner guitar, but all the sound of a thicker, more deep-bodied instrument. And again, this guitar freely offers sound. It's got a wonderful bass, and it really has this kind of depth of tone that you wouldn't expect from a travel guitar or a parlor-sized instrument. Onto the neck, we've got a mahogany neck with a shallow C profile, and overall it's extremely comfortable to play. An 1 3/4 bone nut to match the bone saddle down here, ebony pins, an Ovancole bridge, which is really a nice touch for a travel instrument. Overall, I mean, to say that it's an all solid wood travel instrument that folds up, you think, gosh, that's a little scary, but because the neck comes off and it is so convenient, it's actually really easy to travel with. A lot of times with travel instruments, you sacrifice structural integrity for the ease of travel or durability. And in this case, it's really the best of both worlds because it's easy to travel with and it's all solid wood and has really, really great tone. A pretty robust sounding guitar for such a tiny guitar, and one that the neck comes off, no less. Pretty cool company overall, and that particular instrument does win my heart because wow, it's just a treat to play and fun to travel with. Now again, when I say travel with, I haven't taken it on an airplane, but comparing it next to the other one that I used, is significantly smaller, and just rolling it around the office here is so much easier than the other one. Not that the other one was difficult, but comparing the two, this one certainly wins out. But of course, I want to know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what you think of this Journey parlor guitar. Is that something you'd like to take on a travel with you, or is that something you'd take a pass on for something else? Let me know what you would recommend in addition to the Journey First Class parlor guitar. Go ahead and leave those in the comments below. And speaking of comments, there's a couple of comments from the episode that we did a couple weeks ago, number 138, focused on Bob Dylan. In fact, I have a little bit of an editorial correction I have to make. We'll get to that in a second. Man, talk about an embarrassing moment as a guitar geek. I'll get there. I'll get there. But let's look at some comments first. In fact, one of the topics of that show was defining your guitar heroes, and I encourage you to place your guitar heroes in the comments, and you guys certainly did that. You guys and gals certainly did that. Our first comment comes from Jumpin' Jeff S., and he wanted to explain a couple of his guitar heroes. Here they are. Jeff says this: my guitar heroes are many more numbered than 3, but here are my 3. Number 1, Pete Huttlinger. He gave me tremendous inspiration when I was ready to walk away. The very fact that this performing artist had to learn to play twice still inspires me when the road seems long. Number 2, Trey Hensley. He melted my face in the most awesome way and opened up my mind to how the guitar can be more than a guitar. Number 3, sorry, it's a tie between Texas Tony Schmidt and Trace OKC Norman. Trace constantly inspires me to reach further into my soul and play without fear, and Tony is an ongoing source of encouragement. I feel like I am the greyhound at the track and Tony is the rabbit. I will always be chasing him, and lucky for me, I like to run. He shows me what is just as in barely beyond my horizon and capabilities, but keeps it real so it seems attainable. Whenever I doubt my progress, I think of Trace, and his voice is loud and clear in my head. No fear, dude. And I play on. So cool to hear that, to read that, Jeff. And thank you for sharing that. Special shout out to those 2 members of the TAC family there. So cool that you cited them as your guitar heroes. Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Our next comment comes from Chris Davies, and he says this: hi, Tony. Checking in from Wales in the UK. Always love the show. Couldn't be better. Favorite 3 guitarists would be Tony Rice, Clarence White, and Norman Blake. Lucky enough to have seen Clarence White play in 1970 with the Byrds. It rained so heavy they had to play an acoustic set, which of course I loved. Also saw Norman Blake play with Chris Christopherson again in 1970. Obviously a great year. Tony Rice has to be my favorite. Particularly love the Tony Rice unit record with High Noon on it. Also love Danny Gatton and Reggie Young, and can also confirm, along with your dad, that having seen Johnny Winter play is something I'll never forget. An unbelievable player. So cool to hear such different guitar heroes. I love this. And the fact that Chris here went along the flat picking vein, just like right away, just hitting the big 3, I'll call them. Tony Rice, Norman Blake, and of course Clarence White. I figured if there was like a Mount Rushmore of flat picking, you'd have like, well, Tony Rice, Clarence White, Norman Blake. Who would the 3rd one be? Or the 4th one? I promise I can do math. I'm a math guy. Who would the 4th entry on the flat picking Mount Rushmore be? Let me know in the comments if you can come up with it. I'd love to hear. We can craft a fake flat picking Mount Rushmore. I love it. Tony Rice, Clarence White, Norman Blake, maybe Doc Watson. That would be my vote. My vote would be for Doc Watson. Anyways, let me move on to a couple more comments. Our next comment comes from Cameron B, and he says this: guitar hero number 1 would have to be my younger brother, Justin, who unfortunately passed at a young age. By the time we were both teenagers, he started taking after me and learned the guitar. And I really appreciated and admired the confidence in his playing, especially when he would start playing on stage with his band front and center. I was never one to feel very comfortable playing in front of people. Still to this day, it's a struggle. He could always push those feelings aside and just feel whatever it was he was playing. We shared a really special bond through guitar, and he truly inspired me to play my heart out. To throw a couple other guitar heroes out there, I would say definitely Johnny Greenwood of Radiohead due to his sheer talent and innovation, as well as Damien Rice, mainly because he was the first artist through which I discovered acoustic music. Great episode, Tony. Thanks and cheers. Well, cheers to you, Cameron, and thank you for not only sharing your guitar heroes, but also sharing that incredible, awesome story that really is really kind of cuts to the heart of this whole music thing and how important it is to all of us, and how much it really is. It's more an emotional thing than anything, to be honest. Let's move on to one final comment, and this is where I have to make my editorial correction. This comment comes from Italy, and Jacopo says this: great episode, Tony. However, the pictures you showed at 927 are of Blind Willie McTell, not the legend Blind Willie Johnson. That's my bad. I really am so sorry. And just to make it up to you, just to make it up to the entire Acoustic Tuesday viewing audience, I've selected a picture of Blind Willie Johnson to show right now because I just feel bad I feel bad. I totally goofed that up. Blind Willie Johnson was the fellow that wrote In My Time of Dying, which we kind of got hip to because of Bob Dylan's first album. And again, I totally goofed. I can't believe I featured a picture of Blind Willie McTellen. And in hindsight, I know better than that, but I totally spaced it. So I apologize. Nonetheless, I hope we're good now. Just to continue on Jacopo's comment, he says, I completely agree with you. He's one of my favorite artists, and I think Dark Was the Night, Cold Was the Ground is probably the bluesiest song ever written, even if it's not a blues technically. Cheers from Italy. Well, thanks, Jacopo, for pointing out the little picture snafu, but also kind of making me feel good about the Blind Willie Johnson recommendation. In fact, Whitney and I were listening to Blind Willie Johnson at dinner just over the weekend, and I knew I was on the right track when Whitney's like, can we listen to something different? And I say that because Blind Willie Johnson has such a distinct voice, and I think Whitney was just not in the mood for that distinct voice that evening. But nonetheless, man, Blind Willie Johnson is a blues treasure for sure. And for those of you who don't know who he is, please check him out. It's a treasure trove of awesome bluesiness. And just with all these comments, I want to thank all of you for leaving comments and participating in the Acoustic Tuesday show. It's so nice to have these discussions kind of through the show and talk about guitar geeky things and artists we love and heroes that we have. It's such a delight, and it makes me realize how awesome this community is and how glad I am that you are a part of it. Between the TAC family making an appearance here and, of course, all you guitar geeks at large, it's just so delightful and heartwarming to know that all of us guitar geeks can, take a second on Tuesday and just hang and just be guitar geeks together. And speaking of that, one of the things, that strikes me is that so often we think of our guitar geek community, and I'm just as guilty as the next guitar geek. We think of our guitar geek community as kind of our inner circle, the people we see or talk to on a regular basis. Maybe it's a jam group you attend, folks that go to an open mic, or just a buddy you play guitar with, or maybe it's a guitar teacher you have online or in person. But our guitar geek community is much larger than you may think, and this always surprises me. I always think, yeah, I guess our guitar geek community is kind of big, but it's much bigger than even I think. Sometimes I feel like our guitar geek community is just made up of the players, the folks that play guitar and that come to the Acoustic Tuesday show and talk about it. But I fail to remember that, the luthiers that we admire, the luthiers that build the instruments that we use to make the music that we love, are just as much a part of this guitar geek community as your favorite guitar player that's down the street that you like to jam with. So in an effort to kind of show you how incredible this guitar geek community is, Brendan at Heartbreaker Guitars, he emailed me a couple weeks ago and he said, hey man, I've got this idea and I think I can get a bunch of luthiers on board. And I said, I am excited. You got the reins, man. You go for it. So just about a week later, Brendan says, hey, Carly and I put together this video that features some of the most amazing luthiers on the planet sending personal well wishes to the Acoustic Tuesday audience. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Carly at Heartbreaker Guitars and kick it over to her where she will introduce some of these incredible luthiers and the messages that they have for you. Take it away, Carly.
Thanks, Tony. Hey, everybody at Acoustic Tuesday. This is Carly coming to you from Las Vegas at Heartbreaker Guitars. I'm here with my pal, Toby. We are social distancing right now, so Brendan isn't here, but I'm here to catch you up. There isn't really any news besides the obvious, what's going on in the entire world, but we did just want to send you some well wishes, hope that you're doing well, hope that you're staying safe, healthy, happy, and also, hopefully you're having a little bit of extra time with your guitars. We did also want to introduce to you some friends that had some well wishes for you as well. Here we go. To get started, let's head on over to Southern California and check in with Jean Larrivée.
Tony, and hello to all the Acoustic Tuesday family. This is Jean Larrivée from California. Under these hard times, it's kind of nice to see that music is coming back. And people are taking all their instruments out of the closet and starting to play again. So this makes me very happy because I like to listen to music. And anyway, I hope everyone is well and take care. Thank you.
Now we're going to trek on over to Northern Ireland and check in with George Loudon.
Hi, I'm George Loudon, talking to you from Ireland, where a lot of us are having to stay at home most of the time in order to break this virus. And while I'm doing that, I'm taking some time to practice guitar. And I really look forward to the time when we can all do that together again. But in the meantime, stay at home, stay safe, and play plenty of guitar.
Thanks, George. Now we're going to head all the way to Lewiston, Maine to check in on Dana Bourgeois.
Hey there, Tony and Acoustic Tuesday fans. This is Dana Bourgeois from Bourgeois Guitars. We're hoping you're staying safe, staying at home, and enjoying your guitars. Now is a wonderful time to develop a tighter relationship with your instrument. Stay safe. Looking forward to getting back in touch with you in the near future.
Thanks, Dana. So now we're going to head on over to Sparta, Wisconsin to chat with Matt McPherson.
Hey, I'm Matt McPherson from McPherson Guitars. We're going through some pretty crazy things right now in this world, and everybody's feeling it, and I know a lot of people are afraid, but I want to just encourage you that we're going to get through this. We've gone through crazy stuff before, maybe not quite like this, but you could probably say that every time on other things that have gone down in this world. We'll get through this, but it's times like this, I think, that I reflect the most on what's important in my life. And for me, that's faith, family, and friends. So I grab my guitar and I start laying out some song ideas and do some writing during these times and really put down my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings. And it'll help you in the future when you go through other times in the future that you've written down things in the past as you go through things like this. I would encourage you to do that. If you got a guitar, grab a guitar or just a pen and paper, whatever it takes. Let's write down some thoughts and try to capture those things that matter most in our lives. Let's pay attention to those things. God bless. Have a great day.
Thanks, Matt. All right, now we're going to head over to Staunton, Virginia to check in with Hudson Dalton.
Hey folks, I'm Mark Dalton. Hope everybody's well. We're doing good here at Hudson Dalton. We're carrying on the best we can under the circumstances, and we lost John Prine last night. But as he said, it's a big old goofy world, so we'll see y'all on the other side.
Now, we're going to jet all the way over to the Czech Republic to hear from Peter Furk.
Hi Tony and Acoustic Tuesday lovers. I'm Peter Furk and I would like to send you a hit of positive vibes from Furk Guitar, Czech Republic. We believe that music is the best possible cure for our soul, so I hope that you are able to keep on playing and keep on creating even under current situation. We continue with guitar production, we continue with our services here in Czech Republic and in Nashville to keep supporting you in your homes around the world. Right now you have a great opportunity to play as much as possible and share your joy with all around the world. We would like to help you to keep this reality going. Let's do this. Take care.
Thanks, Peter. Now we're going to head back to the West Coast, down to Santa Cruz, and hear from Mr. Richard Hoover.
Richard Hoover here from Santa Cruz Guitar Company. Big thanks to Tony and all the Acoustic Tuesday family. Thank God for our strength through our common love of music today. California classified Santa Cruz as a non-essential business during the COVID-19 pandemic, probably for our own common good. What is essential right now, while we suffer this, is to shine love and kindness on each other through our everyday actions and through our common language of music. Now's the time to fill your house and your internet connections with the universal message of strength, hope, and encouragement through harmony. Our songs transcend political and cultural barriers. They replace fear in the hearts of others with the God-given joy and magic that is our music. It's you that know best how to deliver this healing grace in its purest form, through your own lyrics and the power of your unspoken melodies. Let's move the world from our new global stage, from your own house and on your own couch. Until we're back at the workbench again, send healing and hope through your own gift of music, by email, YouTube, or out the window and into the street. And of course, don't forget to wash your hands. From springtime in California, big love from Richard, Carolyn, the Santa Cruz crew, and all guitar makers everywhere. Let's change the world through our music. We've done it before, and we will do it again.
Thanks, everyone. We really appreciate those well wishes from all over the world. Tony, we appreciate you. We appreciate everyone over at the Acoustic Tuesday family. We just want to say, stay safe, be well, spend some time with your loved ones and your guitars, and we'll see you soon. That's a wrap from Heartbreaker Guitars. This is Carly and Toby signing off. Back to you, Tony.
What an absolute delight to watch. I mean, it's probably the fourth or fifth time I've watched that in its entirety, and each time I end it with this huge smile on my face. In fact, speaking of Whitney, I showed that to her just last night, and she's like, I can't believe this exists. This is so cool. And for her to say that and see the significance of it, I was just so pumped. So I'm so delighted that all those luthiers were able to take time out and share that message with you. Huge thanks to Brendan at Heartbreaker Guitars. Huge thanks to Carly for putting that together, and really the whole crew at Heartbreaker Guitars. And of course, all of those luthiers involved. What an absolute delight. So thank you so much from the entire Guitar Geek community. And please do know, before I go any further here, I've got a couple of great items. Of course, your trivia answer and an awesome guitar gratitude I cannot wait to share with you. But do know that you can support the Acoustic Tuesday show by purchasing Acoustic Tuesday merchandise. All you have to do is go to acoustictuesday.store, and you'll be able to pick out your favorite shirt. And I want to call attention to the Guitarsenal shirt. I want to bring those back. I want to make those cool again. In fact, I would love for you to submit your Guitarsenal. In fact, I've got a killer one coming up here in a second. But first, here are the steps to get your Guitarsenal featured on the Acoustic Tuesday show. Acoustic Tuesday show. That's what happens when you combine store and show. Anyways, first step, go to acoustictuesday.store, pick out the Guitarsenal shirt, have it shipped directly to your door. Second step, put that shirt on and take a picture with you and your Guitarsenal shirt amongst all of your guitars. Third step, visit acousticlife.tv, click submit in the top menu, and you'll be able to upload that picture of your Guitarsenal and, of course, share your story, just like Paul Simon Abbott did here. Now, this Guitarsenal is fantastic because it's got great stories, and he also asks for my help at the end. Let me go ahead and read to you what Paul wrote. Paul's from Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, and he says this. Hello from sunny Sydney, Australia, where we're like the rest of the world, down and out, as in lockdown and not allowed out. All for the greater good and the perfect excuse to play yet more guitar. I like your line of thinking, Paul. I finally talked my other half into taking a photo of most of my Guitarsenal. 3 other acoustic guitars are in the shed awaiting repair, restringing, buffing up, etc. 2 Valencia Ply-Top nylon string classical guitars and a Yamaha G50A classical. Another shot later, perhaps. With the exception of both electric guitars, one of the steel string dreadnoughts, and my beloved double bass, all the guitars I own, I've found on the municipal cleanups over the years and lovingly restored and brought back to life. For some inexplicable reason, people throw away some amazing things, guitars included. And that was a little bit shocking to me. I was like, how could you throw away a guitar? But anyways, let's get into his Guitarsenal. Well, this is it as of this morning. In true Guitar Geek fashion, he leaves the caveat that more guitars may come into the fold. Left to right, next to my cajon drums, are Fender Squier Stratocaster, an Ibanez Performance PF5 Dreadnought with a bone nut and Maton machine heads, a gift from one of my great neighbors, a Yamaha G90A solid top classical guitar, a Concerta parlor size solid top, also with a bone nut and Gotoh machine heads, my favorite, a 1983 Les Paul copy with reclaimed original 1957 Gibson humbucker pickups and Gotoh machine heads, a 1983 EKO Ranger 6 Italian-made solid top dreadnought, a Suzuki double bass, an Epiphone AJ100 CE cutaway dreadnought. It was in a gig bag and had the original old point of sale guff with it, which said it was proudly made in the USA. It must be pretty old if that's the case. Is it too much to ask that I still would love to own a Martin, a Taylor, a Cole Clark, and a Maton? If so, please email back a permission note for my bookkeeper, or my wife. I'd be very grateful. Best wishes and regards. Well, Paul, I can't thank you enough for sharing that awesome Guitarsenal with all of us guitar geeks. How cool that you actually restore and repair these guitars after finding them seemingly in the trash and make usable, good-sounding instruments out of them. And also, just a quick note to your bookkeeper, I've made a couple of calls to guitar stores just across the world, really, and I've cleared the purchase with all of them. So Paul, all you have to do is just call ahead. I've cleared it. I've talked to the bookkeeper. You're good. You're good to go, man. You're good to go. Guitar Geeks Unite. Anyways, thanks again, Paul, for sharing your guitarsenal with us. And let's move on from guitarsenals to guitar gratitude. Guitar gratitude is a chance for you as a guitar geek to share some gratitude for, well, your guitar. Did it do something incredible in your life? Did it bring people into your life that you never otherwise would have met? Did it allow you to do things you never otherwise thought you would be able to do? Did it help you just through a really tough time? Does it continue to help you through a tough time? Well, that is what guitar gratitude is all about. And Beatrice D here shared her guitar gratitude with us. And I am just so thankful and appreciative that she did so, because it is inspirational, uplifting, and downright awesome. Take it away, Beatrice D.
Hello, here's my guitar gratitude. I would firstly like to thank you, Tony, for appearing on YouTube one day with the Acoustic Challenge video, and for having catapulted me into the world of guitar geekiness. It really has changed the course of my life. Thank you. It was just a push I needed, really, to unlock the block I've had for decades and made me a guitar player finally. It also played a major role, if not the foremost factor, of picking me up from being at the rock bottom of my depression at the time. This has lifted me so much. So thank you also to the tech community for all your support. And you also really pushed my boundaries and made me brave to the point of biting the bullet and sharing my videos with the groups. So a big thank you to you all. Guitar Unite.
Thanks so much, Beatrice, and so cool to hear that the guitar has helped you through difficult times. And also, I loved your shout out to the TAC family there. That was just fantastic and got me all full of warm fuzzies. So thank you so much. If you'd like to submit your guitar gratitude, it's actually really easy to do. Step number one, think of what you're grateful for. What has the guitar brought into your life that otherwise without the guitar wouldn't be there? Was it maybe a spouse, maybe just lifelong friendships? Maybe it just allowed you to conquer some maybe self-limiting beliefs and allow you to, well, become a full-on guitar geek. Go ahead and think of your guitar gratitude, and then that brings you to step two. Visit guitargratitude.com, where you can submit your video. Just click one button, and then it actually just starts your video camera, and you can record your guitar gratitude right there. In fact, you can take notes, and they appear on the screen so you don't forget anything you want to say, and it's that easy. It takes 60 seconds or less, and I gotta be honest, I say this all the time, but if you can do it, I can do it. Or if I can do it, you can do it. Let's just put it this way. We can do it. It's not that terribly difficult. And then, of course, step three is getting featured on the Acoustic Tuesday show. And these guitar gratitudes are really important for two reasons. Number one, it gives you a chance to celebrate. It gives you a chance to reflect on your guitar journey and say, you know what? This is cool that I'm a part of this movement. And the second thing it allows you to do is inspire other guitar geeks to get in touch with the reason they're grateful for their guitar. But more importantly, it inspires and motivates them to continue on in their guitar journey. So it's a little bit of a 2-for-1 special there. So please submit your guitar gratitude at guitargratitude.com. All right, I'm ready to wrap up the show. Beatrice left us with this nice warm, fuzzy, nice feeling. We can kind of end on a high note, but we do have to, of course, answer your Guitar Geek trivia question, which of course was focused on John Prine. I'll give you a quick recap of the question here, just so you have it fresh in your mind, and of course I'll deliver that answer to you. So here was your Guitar Geek trivia question. In which year was the independent record label Oh Boy Records founded? Was it 1977, 1979, 1981, or 1984? Well, if you answered 1981, you're correct. Oh Boy Records, based in Nashville, Tennessee, is an independent American record label founded in 1981 by singer John Prine, his manager Al Bonetta, and their friend Dan Einstein. The label has released more than 40 audio and video recordings by singer-songwriters John Prine, Chris Christopherson, Daniel Slick Ballinger, Sean Camp, Dan Reeder, and Todd Snyder, along with a dozen reissues of classic country music artists. Oh Boy Records also manages Steve Goodman's Red Pajamas Records and the specialty label Blue Plate Music. So cool that, and part of the origin story with that label is that John Prine was kind of seeing the music business head in a not so awesome direction for the artists. So he said, you know what? Screw it, I'm gonna start my own label. And lo and behold, he did, and it features some stellar artists. You should check out their website. It's really, really awesome. So really, really great stuff there, and a great place to end the show for today. But prior to doing so, let's take a quick sneak peek into next week, shall we? See what's coming up on Acoustic Tuesday, episode 141. We're gonna have a look at some reasons why starting on the acoustic guitar is the best move you can possibly make. Yes, ultimately I'll be sharing with you my line of reasoning as to why the acoustic guitar is the best instrument in the entire world. In addition to that, I'll be sharing some documentaries with you that, well, if you've worn out everything on Netflix, if you watched Tiger King, if you've watched The Office on repeat for the last 3 weeks, I've got some new documentaries I want to share with you that will make your viewing, your quarantine viewing, that much better. And of course, infused with all things acoustic guitar. Yes, that's all coming up next week on Acoustic Tuesday. Remember, you can catch Acoustic Tuesday every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time here on YouTube. And of course, for your Acoustic Tuesday fix in between Tuesdays, go no further than acousticlife.tv, where you can do a deep dive on anything I've ever featured on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. Thank you for being a guitar geek. Thank you for making this community what it is. And remember, Guitar Geeks Unite. I'll see you next Tuesday. Take care.